The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? You know, most people would find it shocking that a bunch of people died at Astroworld at a concert. And it is shocking. Apparently, according to the mainstream media, a whole bunch of people, 50,000 or whatever, rushed the stage. And 8 people were killed and 17 were rushed to the hospital. Oh, it's terrible. I remember I went to see Megadeth at Cobo Hall back in the, I believe it was the late 80s, but it could be the early 90s. But regardless of that, they were opening for Ronnie James Dio, and there was a portion of the floor that fell over. And, you know, it took a while for it all to get up. No one got hurt that night, and there wasn't 50,000 people rushing the stage. I don't know how big their main floor was, and you can't really rush. I mean, people who are way in the back, anyways, it's going to be pretty hard to rush the stage. So I'm not sure how they determined that 50,000 people, according to the malpractice media, rushed the stage. But a few things that I found interesting was that 8 people were killed and 17 were rushed to the hospital, even though there were a whole bunch of people hurt, and they were taken care of on site. Now, the malpractice media tells us that it happened at 9:15 p.m. in Texas. Apparently it's in Texas. Was this Houston or whatever? Yeah, in Houston. But they made sure to point out the Eastern Standard Time for some reason. I'm not sure why, because we'd be more worried about the local time, but they point out that it was 10:15 p.m. in the East when it happened. Now, this event happened on Friday, 11/5, at 10:15 Eastern Standard Time, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Locally, it was 9:15, but the malpractice media made sure to point out that it happened, or the time it happened, on the Eastern time zone. Why? Well, I don't know. But it's interesting to note that when the Baldwin Rust situation happened, that I brought up the fact that we might see something around the 6th through the 9th. And it's interesting that while all this information is happening, all this tragedy is happening in Houston, that Congress magically finds a way to pass that infrastructure bill that they were having such trouble doing on a Friday. And at the same time, nobody's going to know about this, by the way, or it's going to flow under the radar for a lot of people, because the 8 people who were killed and the 17 people, were taken to the hospital on 11/5 when it all happened. The event happened at 10:15 p.m. This is all what the malpractice media is telling us, so we have to go with their story. But there's an interesting correlation with this event and the fact that Congress magically passes a bipartisan bill. Yeah, that's right. So some of those Republicans, we just had an election to get those Republicans in, right? You're so excited, some of you, that the Repubes are there again. Like they're going to do anything. It is the old pubes that are joining in with the Dems on this infrastructure bill. But it all magically happens on a Friday with an event that, tragic. I'm still trying to understand how 50,000 people rushed the stage all at once, and that music lovers who are really about, enjoying themselves and having a good time, if somebody looked like they were getting crushed or something, people would back them off. And that happens here in the D when the event happened at Cobo Hall for myself when Megadeth came out. I think they played at Wake Up Dead. It was interesting. And the floor, a good portion of the floor, not the whole floor, a good portion of the main floor collapsed upon each other. And so that's not out of the question. It's happened. Deaths have happened at concerts. But all this, right after the Meta situation over at the fake book there, changing their name. Remember, somebody did a video, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy did a video bringing up the fake book change and Operation Baldwin Rust in the same video. So it's just interesting. And this event happens to correlate. It's strange how the lady who was highlighted in the shooting on the Rust set, on the 12th day of the 21-day shoot of the Rust shoot, I'm sorry. Her initials are HH, just happens to be the 8th letter of the alphabet, so you have an 8-8 there if you just want to transpose it over to some numbers. And by coincidence, falling within some of the days somebody was telling you about in the video just not too long ago, that 8 people get crushed to death and another 17 are rushed to the hospital. Apparently there were like 500 people hurt or something. I don't know. But it's just an odd coincidence. And the bigger coincidence just happened randomly, ladies and gentlemen, and probably will pass under the radar for most people. The $1 trillion spending package was passed through. The infrastructure bill that probably has little to do with infrastructure and has a lot to do with paying off a lot of other people. Why are they in a rush to get this money out anyways? Everything's hurrying up. Then, of course, we have the new mandate deadline, January 4th, 1/4. 1/4 comes out on 11/4. Interesting. Why do all these numbers pop up at the same time? I don't know. You can make that assessment yourself, ladies and gentlemen. But I was thinking, because I've seen a lot of people feel very positive about the election that just passed. Lots of those repubes came into different offices, and it was supposedly a pushback on the current administration's policies, right? It wouldn't. No, it just couldn't be that they would give you a little bone while they're trying to get the last bit of their plan in place. It couldn't be that. It couldn't give you. There's no way that this is just to placate a bunch of the people who were getting uppity quickly and knew something was going down. Now they have a little confidence in the election, right? Something's going to happen. The repubes are going to do something to fix it all, right? Okay. If you say so. If you say so, we had repubes that just got involved because it was a bipartisan deal on the infrastructure plan bill that just went through. I'm sure you're excited about that. Those great Republicans went along with the Democrats on that. You must be thrilled right after your own version of Operation Ballot Box, right? Those elections that just happened were legit, right? And these people you put in place are going to do the job. They're going to fix everything because the Republicans fix everything when they get in office, right? I don't know why the people are so delusional on this. I've seen so many people, maybe they're just stuck as a Republican and they're never going to leave because people are like that. But I've seen so many, oh, see, this is taking it back. This is taking the country back. No, it's to placate you because they knew you'd get uppity and they need a little more time to do what they're doing. They have a couple mandates coming in. Mandates. How is it, ladies and gentlemen, especially you progressives and you liberals out there, or you profess progressives and liberals, how is it that I can't say anything about a woman having an abortion one way or the other, but the government can't tell you to do that either? Okay? But I am going to be forced to taking an injection that I don't want, or other people are going to be? It's interesting how that's all working out. Freedom is only okay for the people who want to impose dictatorial powers on everybody else. That's how it works. Socialists at the top have all the freedom they want, but the rest of you don't have freedom. Freedom. Whatever. And people, I'm sorry that I don't get excited about the repubes being elected once again. In fact, it doesn't change a whole lot up there in the 4-3. They're still going to do what they want to do, and the timing. To me, I keep bringing it up, I know, but it's amazing the timing of the passing of the infrastructure bill. Now they have media distraction on something else. Concert in Houston, Astroworld, lots of rap groups and artists or whatever were there. Apparently, nobody cared about anybody. They just all 50,000 people, they thought they could rush the stage and get up there front row to see them entertaining rappers. Wow. We might have to start banning rap concerts if they're that violent, if people don't have any self-awareness to know that 50,000 people, you probably shouldn't be one of the 50,000 rushing the stage. I mean, there's no way there could have been, 200 or 300 people forcing the issue. I mean, would that happen? Could that possibly happen? 200 or 300 people got everybody kind of going, and you don't need 50,000 to do what happened. You only need a couple thousand to squeeze in a little bit and not pay attention. And with all the rap music going on and all the great rap music and the mayhem and everything else going on. Who knows what really happened, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back, though. That's what's going to happen. Don't think about touching that dial.
That would be a mistake.
The John Lebang Show will be right back after this.
That's guaranteed, man. Like some good Thai stick.
Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane in the Glass. For a beautiful shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's better than the iReader convention.
Our friends over at Project Veritas are getting visits by that three-letter agency that formerly run by that guy named James Comey. They're on the ball there. They're getting to the bottom of a diary that happened to get in the hands of somebody that it wasn't supposed to get in the hands to. No, it's not the Rona, folks. Don't worry. I don't have the Rona. So yeah, our buddies at Project Veritas. You don't think that three-letter ABC agency would be there trying to discover other things that might pop up in the future that could really damage the masters of reality, the power structure, the people running everything. You don't think they were visited to see if they had future things and they had to confiscate that evidence, right? This is evidence. This is evidence, and we have to confiscate it. But, it might be in a future report for Veritas, and now they probably don't have it. We'll find out, I'm sure, when all the smoke clears from all these raids and everything. We'll find out both sides' version, and you'll be able to determine who you believe and who you don't believe. But where is the diligency of this ABC agency when it comes to finding out a whole bunch of other they'll go after the 1-6 people. They'll go after them, detain some of them forever, or I don't know if it's forever, but for a long, long time. Scare the opposition to the fakery that happened on Operation Ballot Box. Scare them into not protesting, not starting up. I mean, they had to bring in the military to surround. That was brought in by Orange Man. You remember, right? Orange Man was the commander-in-chief at the time. So he's the one that surrounded the Capitol to protect the incoming president. So we would have a peaceful transfer of power under military rule at the moment. Because, that's how I saw it. People think that Orange Man was a great guy, I saw some other post the other day. Wish Joe Pettit wasn't in there. Orange Man's better. Really? It was Orange Man that implemented the OWS. Do you remember that? He's the one that shut down the economy. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks, but really it wasn't. We've had lasting effects. Look at the supply chain now. Did you hear the latest? You heard the latest, right? This is going to go on for a couple of years, the supply chain. It's going to get worse, too, especially with the new mandates, because a lot of people aren't going to take it. There's going to be nowhere to work either, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be jobs. There'll be jobs, but who's going to be manning those jobs if you don't want the poker? Oh, no. And you got to have the poker if you're a corporation that has more than 100 employees. Well, heck, aren't those the essential companies? And practically all the small companies were shut down by the Orange Man and haven't been able to recover since, or barely been able to recover since? Oh, okay. All right. I get it. So you put the little guy out of business, or a good portion of the little guy out of business, make it extremely difficult on them since, because the supply chain was then wrecked, and it won't be repaired, which means it's driving up the cost of everything. So the little guy is already being stressed. His business is almost wrecked. Now he's being stressed on top of it. And now if they've been able to survive, and then the big corporations, they have to tell all their employees, you got to get the, you know what. And if you don't, you can't work here. Well, personally, ladies and gentlemen, this is just me. I suggest you join along if you're one of those people that don't plan on getting the thing in your arm, or any subsequent booster for that matter. Join me in telling those corporations that you will no longer get any business if you require your employees to get the poker. On top of that, if you require your employees to get the mask too, the medical burqa, you know what? I'm done. I don't need to give my money to you. You're throwing us out of society. So you know what? I'm not going to help you do it. I'm not going to pay for you to do it. I'm not going to buy your products. I don't need your stinking products. So all those employees that are being the good little sheeple and getting the little poker, they can go on the unemployment line when your business goes out of business, when the rest of us say, the heck with you. We're not going to buy your products. Now, I can't vouch for all my fellow Americans who are not going to get the poker. I can only control my life. But I can tell you, I'm going to inspire as many people as I can until somebody gets rid of me to boycott. Not just boycott, put you out of business. So any corporation out there that decides that they're going to follow a dictatorial mandate, you will no longer get my business. And I'm sure if enough people can see this, and I doubt enough people will, I'm sure that whoever sees this might join in on this. We don't need your products. We'll buy locally. You're trying to... I shouldn't say you're trying. You're going to follow the rules that are going to put people like myself and a whole lot of people in hardship. You're acquiescing to government dictates before freedom is going to translate in you losing business. And the only people that are going to give you the business are the people that are probably going to be working for you. And that's kind of like slavery, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not buying what you're selling. I'm not buying the mandates. I'm not buying your products. I'm not buying anything. Go ahead and attempt to force your employees. Because what that's going to do, it's going to put, in case I want to ever go back, I won't be able to go back to work. So you're basically discriminating. Oh, isn't that all these woke companies, ladies and gentlemen, and they have learned to discriminate like they always have. They've always discriminated, and they will keep doing so because they're just lapdogs of the government, and they're tax collectors, and that is why they're lapdogs. Every CEO out there, and you read about that, right? that the CEOs are getting all their companies in line with what the government is telling them? Is that not socialism? Ladies and gentlemen, we have marched right into socialism, even though Orange Man told you we would never be a socialist country. He just set it up for the socialists after he left to do their thing. And they've done it. And now, there's no going back, ladies and gentlemen. The elections that just happened aren't going to do anything but placate you into believing those things work again. Well, if you don't believe they worked a year ago, and the guy you voted for was robbed of the victory, then how, under this current administration, could you ever believe, especially with all the information that has come out since, how could you ever believe this election would be on the up and up? I'm starting to believe that a good portion of the Republican voting base is insane, because they keep voting for the same thing every time, and, well, it keeps failing, and it's going to do it again. They're biding time because they knew you were angry. That's right. Do you think if they were frightened at all, this next mandate would be put in place? No, they're not worried. They know they still have all the pieces necessary to accomplish the goal that they're striving for. Their great enterprise. And all of you, I didn't go vote. I don't care to vote. Not going to vote anymore. But all of you who did, thinking you're going to make a difference that way, hopefully you find out sooner rather than later, figure it out sooner rather than later, that you've been had once again. But I don't think we have enough time to worry about that. Just to keep you guys chill for a little bit. 11:22 is on the way. And then 1/4 is going to be here. Then, what do you guys think of the percentage of Americans will be out of a job, and then the government's going to say, oh, you know what? You can't get unemployment. You could work. All you have to do is get the shot. That's all you have to do. You could work. You can't get unemployment. So then what? Oh, by the way, you quit. You quit. Yeah. Because you could have kept working if you just got it. So you quit. So I hope you have enough money to live on. You know what kills me in all this is, I saw this coming a long time ago, and I walked away in May. Maybe a little earlier than most, but that's when we should have all walked away, when we had the strength. Now they've had plenty of time to wreck the supply chain even more, get you even more stressed. And now you're worried as you're going into winter with rising costs. What are you going to do about a job comes January 4th? What you gonna do? You shouldn't have waited. They've got you right where you wanted, or right where they want you. I don't know what you're going to do about it. You know, I was one of the first that walked out of this whole thing. I'm probably one of the first that takes the brunt of it, because I'll probably run out of money a lot sooner than most of you guys. But hey, some of us have got to try to do something. And we know the masses, as the socialists like to say, aren't going to go and do anything. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again next time. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. in the chat box if it's still going, and we'll see you there next time. Bye.
1. We have liftoff.